let me introduce this internet Facebook Live for the first time with Mark and Satish that visit us in France for some days of exchanges. And so we have some question, maybe some open discussion we could have around the quest for meaning, about your meeting, about the next project, and the Schumacher College. Many topics. So send your questions, and we'll do our best to give you some clues.
Good.
Thanks.
So we're very happy to have you here,
Yes.
Satish.
Yes.
We met in 2009, it was December 2009, I think, for this course of Gandhi and Globalization.
Yes.
And from that we have those interviews, those footage. It took us maybe with Nathaniel 3 years to have all this material together, to travel around the world and trying to put all this material together. And now it's nearly 8 years that we met. So I wanted to ask you,
In the meantime, you have done excellent job of making the film and editing the film and also spreading the film. All around the world it has gone now. So I'm very delighted, and I want to say congratulations for making such a good film.
Thank you for having this inspiration, because we're so inspired that all these seeds of wisdom that you gave us with Nathaniel, we couldn't keep it for ourselves. So we have to dedicate all our life to make sure we could share them in the nicest way possible. Like a flower, she tried to be as beautiful as possible, so more animals can come and take the seeds and spread them, and then where the seeds come, it doesn't belong to us. We don't know. So thanks for having been this source of inspiration. And now, the movie is going to be promoted in the US. It was free for 15 days. And this is where things started in the United States, when I broke my foot and watched all those documentaries that made me depressed until I met you. And then it opens up a new world. That's what the movie is about. And I think I would be interested if you could maybe talk about this worldview that you mentioned in the movie, about this thing about interconnectedness. That was the thing that really struck us, and how now the new revolution that's coming, it's not the one we expected. It comes from a different place. And you give your riff on that? Yes.
I mean, new revolution that I'm talking about is an ecological revolution. An ecological revolution for me is to make a sense of, and this is about the quest of sense, quest of meaning, make the sense of being at home on this planet Earth. At the moment, our modern civilization, industrial civilization, makes us feel that we are separate. So the new revolution is that we are not separate, we are related, we are connected, we are interdependent, and that's a new revolution.
And how can we start? How do we start this revolution? Where do we start?
Mahatma Gandhi said that you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. So we start the revolution with ourselves. And we revolutionize our thinking, our consciousness, change of consciousness, and our lifestyle. And we live on this planet Earth as if we are at home and not in a hotel, and not just consuming, and not just exploiting, and not just mining and taking, because this is a kind of hotel mentality. When you are at home, you want to nourish, nurture, and enhance your home so that it's a long-term home, can provide security and safety for you, for your family, and for your future generations, for children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to come. In the American Indian tradition, they say up to 7th generation we have to think. So that we have to start with ourselves. And then once we have that consciousness, at the same time, we also communicate these ideas to our fellow human beings. And so you have done with your film, communicated this idea. We need to communicate this idea. And then also, not only communicate through media, like social media, or film, or newspapers, or magazines, or books, but also face-to-face. So we started Schumacher College, where students and young people can come and understand this new revolution, the revolution of 21st century, the ecological revolution. And so we start also face-to-face person to person, with warmth and friendship and service for each other. So these are the two ways to bring about revolution in our time.
And what struck me is like a lot of ecologists are very depressed, and I don't feel like this pressure or this sadness about like the destruction of the environment, and like how come?
Yeah, because I am involved in environmental movement out of deep love for the earth. Lots of environmentalists are very much kind of materialistic, and they are trying to save the earth. They are very desperate, and they have a burnout because they don't achieve the saving the earth, and the pollution goes on, the waste goes on, and so they get depressed. I am not depressed. I remain enthusiastic because my challenge is to put myself in the service, and whatever we achieve, we celebrate. So I say, look, when I started talking about environment, there was no renewable energy. Everybody was using only fossil fuel. Now we have a 25%, 30% of energy coming from renewable sources. Celebrate that. Don't just moan and groan and complain about what you have not achieved, but also celebrate what you have achieved.
And I can confirm, like, we started this movie like 8 years ago, was the beginning of the project, and we saw like the rise of consciousness. There's a destruction that's exponential, but the more there is this destruction, the more awareness rise, and the more people start to think in a different way, and I could see like the change of consciousness is also like exponential.
Yes,
so there is this hope, and if we look at this perspective.
So there's a hope, and with hope we celebrate, and we can continue to put ourselves in the service of the planet Earth and the service of humanity. And if you do that with a sense of service, you don't get burnout, don't get depression, you don't have frustration.
So love-based motivation rather than the fear-based motivation.
Exactly. Sometimes our environmentalists and ecologists are driven by fear of doom, gloom, disaster, end of the world, global warming, climate change, nuclear war. All these are doom and gloom, disastrous scenarios. I say doom and gloom should not be the motivation. I don't want to be part of a movement which is fear-driven. I want to be part of the environmental and ecological movement which is love-driven.
And this is a good program.
Yeah.
And I think something very new that you bring into the topics, that is this idea of like spiritual ecology. In France, we don't have that at all so far. And for you, how come like the spirituality and ecology can meet?
So I think without spirituality, ecology becomes only the external landscape. You are seeing the planet Earth outside, but we also have an inner landscape. And that inner landscape is the landscape of spirituality. That is where our heart is, our soul is. This is where we cultivate compassion and cultivate friendship, and we cultivate generosity of spirit, and we cultivate love in our heart. And if you don't have compassion for the planet Earth, if you don't have compassion for the animals, if you don't have compassion for the poor, for the suffering, humanity, then just social engineering is not going to solve the problems. We have been engaged in social engineering for a long time, but it doesn't solve problems. So now we have to move from social engineering to a sense of service and a sense of spirituality. So this is why I call it spiritual ecology. Ecology and spirituality should go together. So ecology is outer landscape, and spirituality is the inner landscape. And we have inner landscape and outer landscape going together.
And from what I saw, like now with the young generation, there is all this idea like to have this quest for meaning. Before it was maybe security or salary was important, and now in the last studies, I think it was like 80% of the people, they prefer the meaning and the purpose to just the money and the security. So I mean, this sense of service is like starting to rise.
Absolutely.
So now it's how we find a good way to make a living out of service. And sometimes it's not working. For us, with the movie with Nathaniel, it works. We have left everything, and we just focus on all the keys of consciousness that we got and shared. And at the end, we managed to make a living out of it. So I think this idea, and I think it's one of the conclusions of the movie, maybe you can expand on that, is that you said, don't look for a job, but create your livelihood. And the other thing you say, trust is the key. And I think people think like, if we trust, if we go with the flow, then we won't act. So it's a passivity. How do you make also this difference between the...
No, the trust is not passivity. Trust is the most active trust that we can have. Trust is the most active ingredients in our life. Trust is not passive. And the trust means that this universe has its own pattern. And universe, because when I was born, I was not PhD. I did not have a job. I did not have any work. I was a little baby. And yet the universe put milk in the breast of my mother. Where did milk come in the breast of my mother? I had to come in the world with a trust. And the universe puts the milk in the breast of my mother. And so that is an example of that we come in the world with trust. And trust is not passive, that's very active. In order to trust, you have to risk life. And to live is to risk, and to trust is to risk. So, and when you are not trusting, and you are going for security, like job security and so on, then you sometimes lose your inner contentment and inner joy and inner happiness, and you become a slave of your job. And so therefore I say, don't worry. Sometimes I say to people, don't worry, Satish Kumar will pay your bills. You just do what you want to do, love what you do, and do only what you love and nothing else. Because your human life should not be wasted just for money. Money is a good invention as a means of exchange, as a facilitator. But money should not be our master. We should not do anything for money. We should do something because of its quality. And money should follow as a byproduct. And therefore, your livelihood should be something which brings your inner qualities, your heart, your imagination. If you have no imagination, if you have no creativity, and you just do boring jobs, you are wasting your life. And so I say, don't work for big corporations, because there you are working for a big boss, or big companies, or big business, or big government, or big military, or big police, all these big things. And create your own job, or work in a cooperative, a small cooperative, a few friends together, not hierarchy, but equal status, working together. So this way, you can be the master of your destination and not a slave of money. At the moment, lots of people are slaves of their jobs and money. They are not masters of their life. I want people to be the masters of their life.
Thank you.
We have a question online about fear.
Yeah.
How can we be guided by fear in our life, and how to escape from that?
How to escape. The antidote to fear is trust, which we talked about. And you begin with yourself by saying that I can trust, I will trust, and I am trusting. Because trust is in your heart. Trust is not something that you have to go and buy in a supermarket or in a department store. Trust is given to us by birth. So trust is our birthright. We don't have to look for trust somewhere else. Trust is there, but it's suppressed. It's dormant. It's not active. This is why I say trust is not passive. Trust is very active. And so fear, when there's a fear, trust is dormant and inactive. So let go of your fear. Letting go of fear is the first step by saying, I will trust. I came in this world and the universe looked after me. And universe has given me my body. Universe has given me my intelligence. Universe has given me my eyes and ears and hands. I can plant a seed. I can build a house. I can make pottery. I can make. So when you trust, you have a self-confidence. And that self-confidence makes you self-reliant. When you have no self-confidence, then you cannot trust. So recognize your abilities, recognize your strength, recognize your potential. When you recognize, you can trust. But if you only say, some boss will look after me, some company will look after me, my parents will look after me, somebody will give me money, banks will look after me, government will look after me, you are losing your self-confidence. And then you cannot trust yourself. You have to trust yourself that you are capable.
So at the end, it's a very liberal way of seeing things.
This is a very liberating way of thinking. Not liberal only, but it's a liberating. It liberates you. Liberates you from fear, and liberates you from anxiety, liberates you from a kind of uncertainty, anxiety, and despair. You are free. You can serve the earth, and earth will look after you. Trees will give you fruit. Banks will not give you food. Soil will give you food. You plant the seed, soil will give you food. You plant one seed, it will come back 1,000 apples.
I've been like, I think we can listen that from you because you've been a life of trust.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I don't know how old are you. You were like 82?
81.
81?
Yeah.
And I think we experienced that with Nathaniel,
yeah.
who living with very low incomes,
yeah.
and at the end he works. So
yeah.
now we can promote that. It's
yeah.
not just a concept. In
yeah.
French we are very good with philosophy and concept, but I think the wisdom is the experience of the concept.
Yeah, exactly.
And you,
yeah.
for me, embody that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lived experience because I went around the world for 2.5 years. 8,000 miles I walked from India to Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, Russia, Poland, Germany, Belgium, France, England, America, Japan, back to England. Back to India, back to India. 2.5 years, 8,000 miles, not a penny, not a cent, not a euro in my pocket, not a dollar in my pocket, all without money. I could trust, and I was fed, I was sheltered. So trust is my lived experience. It's not a concept, not a theory, it's an experience. And thereby I have a solid conviction.
Yeah, that's why you're inspiring.
Yes.
Not convincing, but inspiring.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have like other questions, or we can bounce back on.
One question is about free energy.
Yeah.
Is it something you heard about? You know about this free
What
energy?
is free energy?
Well, free energy is the fact of maybe some kind of techniques allow us to have like kind of infinite energy.
Yes.
Instead of coil, instead of nuclear plants, instead of all these things.
Yes, yes, yes.
Is this a topic you have discussed already in the Schumacher College? Or?
You know, energy is abundant. If you take natural energy, how much energy the sun gives, you cannot measure the amount of energy sun is giving all over the world. And you don't have to dig wells for the oil. You don't have to do any mining for the coal. You don't have to do anything. You just harvest the energy from the sun. The wind energy, how much energy? Cannot measure. You cannot measure energy coming from the wind. So much power of the wind. Water energy, the tide energy. But we have forgotten to harvest. How to harvest solar energy, wind energy, water energy, tide energy. And there's a thermal energy under the soil. If you dig the soil, it's a warmth there. You can put something under the soil and that thermal energy can heat your floor and heat your house. So we have to learn the wisdom of harvesting natural, abundant, unlimited energy. But it's free energy. Sun will not ask you to come with a credit card. The wind will not ask you to pay with a credit card. The rain will not ask you to pay with a credit card. It's all free. So there's no, only thing you need imagination and how to harvest the water, the wind, the solar.
I think that's the problem. Is like nature is not asking money, so
yeah.
corporations have a problem with that.
Yes.
And they want us like we pay for
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And like there's this joke I saw, I don't know, it was like it's two bankers and they are like looking at the sunset.
Yeah.
And one say, wow, it's beautiful. And the other say, it make me like sick when I think this is free.
Yes, yes.
Just to contemplate.
Because that is the conditioning, the brainwashing, which has been going on for the last 200 years, when we have gone through this consumerist, materialistic, capitalist society, where we think that everything is a commodity. The energy is a commodity, Food is a commodity, clothes are a commodity, everything commodity to make money. And that is the old paradigm, the old way of thinking. What we are talking about is a new paradigm, a new energy, a new revolution, a new way of thinking, where we say that food is not a commodity. Food is to feed people, not a sell and buy. Energy is not a commodity. The sun doesn't want money. So capitalist system, which says that everything is a commodity to make money, that has to change. Human beings have become commodity. Our time and labor has become commodity. We sell our labor, we sell our time. People say, how much time? I want you to work for me. What can I pay you? What do you charge for 1 hour or 1 day? I say, my 1 hour is eternal gift from the universe. It's not a commodity to sell. So selling and buying should be a kind of byproduct. A kind of money should be a byproduct. We should not do anything for money. The sun doesn't say, I give you so much energy. What are you paying me back? Sun is not a capitalist.
And I think, like, because we are in France, in a castle, and we were talking this morning about like the French Trinity, about like liberté, égalité, fraternité, and you're coming with a new one that could maybe like be at the basis of this new paradigm. You could like talk a little bit about that?
Égalité, liberté, fraternité was a very good trinity for its time. At that time, you need a political trinity. But for our time now, we need a bit broader, more holistic, more inclusive, new trinity. So I have come up with a new trinity for our time. And that new trinity is soil, soul, and society. So soil I put at the top because we are made of soil. Our clothes are made of soil. Our food is soil transformed. Without soil, no food, no clothes, no house, nothing can come. And so if we look after the soil, soil will look after us. So looking after soil means looking after trees, looking after forest, looking after our food, looking after nature. That's the soil. I put that because we are made of nature. We are nature. Nature is not just out there. We are nature. And so we must look after nature. The second is, that's outer landscape, nature. The inner landscape I talked about is the soul. So we must cultivate our inner qualities of courage, inner quality of compassion, trust, friendship, generosity, and love. These are the inner qualities. If we are without love, without generosity, without friendship, without compassion, without a sense of service, we'll be absolutely in a desert. In a desert, there's nothing growing there. So the inner garden of our heart, we have to cultivate. And the garden of our heart has the roses and the flowers of trust and compassion and the beautiful, fragrant flowers of generosity and love. And so inner landscape is as important as the outer landscape. So I put soul in the middle. And then we say we have to also look after our society. We are members of one human family. Before I'm an Indian, or you are a French, or somebody's Christian, or somebody's Muslim, or somebody's communist, somebody's capitalist, somebody's rich, somebody's poor, all those labels are just labels. There's nothing more than that. We are human beings, first and foremost. And that unity of our human family and human tribe and human community must be recognized as the prime identity. Your identity is not as a Frenchman, or my identity is not an Indian man. These are labels. Our true identity is that we are human beings. So that's a society. So my new trinity for our time is soil, soul, society.
And I think on this idea of diversity, people don't see like this mixed sometimes with uniformity, and like recognize that we are human beings, but we are all different. I think is something.
No, diversity is the beautiful celebration of unity. Unity is implicit. Unity of life. Everything is life. It's a life force. Whether it's the trees or animals or insects or humans, we are all life force. So the unity is life force. But that one life force manifests in an explicit way in millions and trillions and billions of forms. So every tree is different, every animal is different, every human being is different. So diversity should be celebrated. It would be boring if everything was same language. If we have one language, we're boring. It's wonderful to have thousands of languages. We have one religion in the world, 7 billion people practicing Christianity or Islam or Buddhism. We're boring. So good to have many religions, many languages, many colors, many different kinds. So it's a wonderful to have a diversity. We should not change and transfer diversity into divisions. And unity is implicit and existential, because we are all driven by life force. But that unity should not be destroyed in the name of uniformity. At the moment, our architecture, you go anywhere, the same architecture. Whether you're in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles or Tokyo or London or Paris, wherever you go, the high-rise buildings. Same kind of boring architecture. I want diversity, the vernacular, the local. We should celebrate the vernacular and the local genius, a sense of place. Every place has its genius. We should not forget that genius of the place. And that's a diversity. We must celebrate that diversity. So unity and diversity dance together. Uniformity and division bring problems.
Last question, maybe for you, Mark, maybe Satish, you have something to add, is about how did you do to go back to normal life after the travel? And globally, after a really inspirational experience travel, how can we do to go back to life as usual, or maybe not?
I think the real life was traveling.
Yeah.
That was the real life. Before it was the cage. So it was not the real life. But no, that's true. After this meeting all the inspiring people, like by traveling, I think traveling opens your mind and it changes your way of thinking, because you can't be rational because you don't understand the people, so you have to feel your intuition. And the more you develop your intuition, the more you open your mind, the more you see things differently. And I think that was like the biggest gift, and I think it's important like to travel just for that. Even you can travel in French, you can travel in your own country, but it's a mindset, I would say, traveling. You can go now traveling and take picture, and you are not in the moment, and you don't change really your mind. So after changing our mind, when we came back with our friend, with Nathaniel, for example, we wanted to share all what we got, the wisdom, and for us it was more a concept. For them it was a concept, and for us it was experience. It was hard to we tried to convince, but it didn't work. So at some point I think we had to withdraw a bit from the normal life. That was the thing. We were in the caravan with Nathaniel, like living with like friends and trying to finish the movie. And I think I get nourished by seeing your interviews again, seeing all the 90 hours of footage to turn into 1 hour and a half. So that it fed my soul. And I think like I took some time to fed my soul like in daily basis with like the movie, like the footage, books, and to feed my body with like good food, like practice, like yoga and things like this. And still feed my mind by challenging things and like making sure I was not putting toxic stuff in my mind, like TV or like advertising and like toxic relationship, all these things. And by getting rid of that and having a practice, like going to nature and having friends and community where we can share this new belief system about nature, about oneness, about spirituality. Having this circle was important then to go back in other circles, like my family and friends that were not into it. My parents were very afraid, what are you going to do next? It was all these things. My friends too, that like this idea of freedom sometimes scare people. They prefer like to be more slave and have an excuse than be free and be responsible sometimes. And I think like having like those different circle of where I could express this new belief and the old one, and spending time with nature like helped me.
And you acquired some land?
And now yes, we acquired some land with like some people help us. So now I have a place where we can practice also the thing. You can learn about all this idea about ecology, about like how do you reconnect mind, body, and spirits all together. And we can see after 1 week of people putting their hands in the soil, you don't have the same conversation when you are like chopping the vegetable or in gardening than inside the city or in a bar. Or so we try to recreate the experience that we have in traveling or in Afghanistan and India. So people can in 1 week experiment all this new way of thinking and experience. Because I know you can't convince a cynical people with arguments. They need to experience. So now we will say that to all the French people who are very like intellectual in the mind.
Yeah.
You won't find your soul in your intellect.
No.
You need to practice, you need to experience, and
Absolutely.
from that your intellect can brings you to a point where it stops, and then it's like your consciousness that opens up, and that's what we try to do now. And I think being coherent and listening to your advice, don't look for a job but create a livelihood. It took me like 7 years to do it. I knew it was right, but it was long to go over fear, to find the guts to do it. And now we are doing it. It works it's well, and people are happy. So thank you for the advice. You don't need to pay my bill. It works by itself. But,
thank you.
And if we can spread this idea that you have done in Schumacher here, that's why we are here. To spread that with artists, with entrepreneurs, with people who work for non-profits, create this new culture, this new narrative about change. That's what we try to do. So instead of going back to real life, we try to bring the utopia in the real life.
In the real life. Very good.
We want to start by dreaming, and then concrete things will happen.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
We don't see how people react.
So
but I was very happy to have an opportunity to give you more talk than just 5 minutes in the movie. So now people can see the way, the energy, your contagious enthusiasm. That I think it will inspire more people.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for people to have this communication.
So thank you. And now the idea with the movie is like a seed. So if you can help to spread the message, have more people see it, have more conversation, ask more questions. That's why we did what we did. And it's a fun ride. So thank you, Nathanael.
Everyone, thank you. People are sending thanks messages and hearts, and love and some thumbs up. So
good.
Thank you, everyone, and see you later in the US.
Maybe in the US next time.
Or in England, we
please
we can't wait for that.
See the Schumacher College, so it's how people can really live this experience.
Absolutely, and you can visit Schumacher College website, schumachercollege.org.uk, and find out more. And maybe if you want, you can come to Schumacher College and do a course for 1 week or 2 weeks, something like that, and experience this new way, new consciousness, new paradigm life at Schumacher College.
But be careful, because there is no way back. So then you don't go
There's
back.
no more normal life again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.